According to multiple sources, including ESPN, Kalen DeBoer has been picked to replace Nick Saban, which, by the way, you don't replace Nick Saban. You can't replace a guy like that. But Kalen DeBoer, the Washington Huskies football coach, only been there for 2 years, got them into the national championship game. According to ESPN, among other sources, he has negotiated his contract. He is going to break the news to his team that he will be taking over Alabama anytime now. So that's crazy news. It's a crazy time. I apologize for the noise outside. There's a fire truck just coming by. You hear that? That's great. That's wonderful. Great job, guys. I know they're on their way to emergency. It's probably a cat. But anyway, Kalen DeBoer has been picked to replace Nick Saban. So I'm going to dive into that and more, folks. I hope you are having a great day. It's finally Friday. Welcome to Clemson Football Live. I am Brian. I'm glad you're here. Hopefully so. You have subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, if you like what I'm doing, I hope you subscribe. It's free and it's easy. Let's dive into Kalen DeBoer. Now, this guy is a West Coast guy. End of story. All right? And I'm going to tell you just a little bit about his background. Okay? He was born in South Dakota. And he played football at Sioux Falls, which is a NAIA school, back in the mid 90s. And then he went on to do a little high school football coaching. And then in 2000 to 2004, he was the offensive coordinator for Sioux Falls. Then in 2005 to 2009, this guy was the head coach at Sioux Falls, once again, NAIA football, and he won 3 national championships in a 4-year period. The guy only lost 1 ball game in that 4-year period from 06 to 09. Now, from there, he went on, is very, very interesting. He went on to be the offensive coordinator and wide receivers coach from 2010 to 2013 for Southern Illinois. From there, he moved on to Eastern Michigan from 2014 to 2016. He was the offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach. And here's where it's like everything accelerates because he's at all these really, really small schools. He was at NAIA. I mean, that's teeny tiny. Then you go Southern Illinois. It's still a smaller school. You go to Eastern Michigan. I mean, it's not the Big Ten. It's not the Pac-12. It's not. It's a small school. Then he goes to Fresno State, and from 2017 to 2018, he was the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. In 2019, he goes to Indiana, and he's the offensive coordinator for 1 year. Then he goes back to Fresno State, coaches for 2 years there. Then he gets hired in 2022 to become the head coach at Washington. He spent 2 seasons at the University of Washington, and now, according to reports that are reliable, he is now taking over Alabama. Congratulations to him. I will tell you this. It was a job like this is very difficult to fill because you can't replace Nick Saban. I've said that over and over. You can't replace him. But I think what's interesting about this is this guy leave the West Coast and try to recruit in the South. Now, I'm not saying that this guy cannot coach. Please understand that. But I am telling you, it is very, very difficult. It is very, very difficult for a guy from the West Coast to come to the Southeastern Conference and recruit. Pause there. This is Alabama, though. This guy was just in the national championship game. Now, one thought that I have, and I'm going to throw out my pessimistic remark, okay? This guy that I'm about to mention did not reach near the level that Kalen DeBoer has reached. I mean, his team was just in the national championship a few days ago. Got throttled, but at least it wasn't Georgia over TCU. But Brian Harsin came from Boise State and went to Auburn. A different job, a different time. Alabama was just in the college football playoff, okay? I want to be fair there. You're taking over different scenarios. Alabama is not broken, folks. Alabama is not broken. Auburn was having some problems. They hired Brian Harsin, made everybody scratch their head. It didn't make sense. We saw how that went down. You know, I'm not even going to that. But I think this guy can coach. It's just interesting. If you look at how fast he has progressed over the past few years, it's just like, you know, it was just like for that small amount of time, and I'm looking at his coaching record as we speak. I mean, there was at Sioux Falls for almost a decade. He was in that general area, well, basically all his life. And then from 2010, now I know 2010, if you're talking to a teenager, is something totally different than somebody like myself who's 41. To me, 2010 doesn't seem that long ago, and at the same time it does. It's 14 years ago. If you go back 14 years ago, this guy's the offensive coordinator and wide receiver coach for Southern Illinois. You go to 2014 to 2016, and guess what? This guy, hilariously, is coaching Eastern Michigan, and it's like after that, everything just kind of goes in this just turbo boost for his career. Fresno State, go to Indiana. And by the way, those jobs are not amazing jobs. I know Fresno State has off and on had a good football team. And by the way, when he was at Fresno State in 2021, they were 9-3. They were 6-2 overall, finished second in the Mountain West. And I mean, Lord help him. I mean, in 2020 was his first season. He was 3-3. Folks, you can't count the 2020 season almost for about anything. That was just a whacked out mess. I'm going to leave that alone. I mean, it was just really odd, weird. But in 2021, when he had time to spend with his team and he's not having to worry about everybody staying 16 feet apart, they're 9-3. They're 6-2. He goes to Washington. 11-2. And then he goes 14-1. Here's one thing that I see about this guy. Everywhere he goes, he does great. He does a great job. I agree with you that it's tough. I mean, taking over this job, what's the old saying? Nobody wants to be the man to have to take over for the man. Here, you're not taking over for the man. You're taking over for arguably the greatest college football coach and one of the greatest coaches to coach any sport in American sports. So, congratulations to him. It's going to be interesting to see how these players that have committed, I want to see how they react. I want to see what the transfer portal is like over the next few days. Obviously, we're coming up on a weekend. For some people, I think a lot of people will be out of work. At least our banks and so on will be out of work Monday for a national holiday. But it will be really interesting to see what happens, who hits the transfer portal, or who actually meets with him first before going, hey, Saban's not here, I'm out. Question is, what happens to Tommy Rees? Where does Tommy Rees land? He just left Notre Dame. Just left Notre Dame. His home. Played football there. Got his first gig there. Went to Tuscaloosa for 1 year. Got them to the college football playoff. Kevin Steele is retiring after years and years of being in college football. Tommy Rees, he's a baby at this thing. He did get them to the college football playoff. What happens to him? This will be a very interesting time over the next coming few days, I believe. So I'm going to go through some of the comments, and then I'm going to shut this thing down. By the way, if you're just now joining me, according to several sources, including ESPN, if you want to go find ESPN, you want to ring them up, you want to get really ugly with them just in case they got that wrong, please get ugly with them and not me. It's here on ESPN. If you go to ESPN's main page, DeBoer agrees to be next Bama head coach with breaking news under it. So, I'm quite sure it's done now. I don't think that they would do that breaking news. Could I be wrong? Yeah, but in this case, I don't think I am. Kalen DeBoer has been hired to not replace Nick Saban. You don't replace him. It's very interesting to see him take this job. Let's go through a couple of questions. Might not be able to get to all of them. Dave Brazil in here. Whew. Tiger 2 deep. Shoe. Ram Protect said caught it. Kenneth Burleson, I'll say it now, Alabama will not make it to the college football playoff next season. If Wesco and Moore can be an immediate vertical threat, Clemson will make the college football playoff. It'd be nice if they did. Jay, eager to see if he can recruit the South and please the Bama fan base. He seems like a good X's and O's guy, though. That's the key right there. That's the key right there. Nobody can be Saban but Saban. All right? So, come in. Do what you do best. Understand, though, that the teams you're about to play against, with the new SEC adding Texas and adding Oklahoma, it just got tougher. So, your X's and O's will be exposed whether they're good or they're bad. We see this a lot in sports across the board. Guys, sometimes you can have such talent on your team that actually covers up how mediocre you are as a coach. I don't think that with him, but we will see because this is outrageous. Tiger 2 deep. But can he recruit? It's a great question. Dwayne Wicker, will he handle the pressure of being at Alabama? We'll find out soon enough. Yes, I think that's why Dan Lanning stepped back and said, look, guys, I'm not taking this job. I have it made in Eugene, Oregon. I have more money at my disposal than I know what to do with. Thank you, Nike. Dan Lanning is a savior in Eugene, Oregon. Why? Why would he put that unneeded pressure on himself and the lining of his stomach? Thanks, but no thanks. I'm going to skip on through here. Bama will be fine, Dale says. Will ND says, hey, DeBoer's job isn't to be as good as Saban. It is to stay a top 5 college football program. You know what? I agree with you, but just bear with me here. A top 12 college football team. Remember, the new playoff is coming. That whole thing that went on at the end of the season with this team getting left out and that team left out and this team getting in and that's over, folks. Now it will be the number 13 whining that they didn't get in. And at that time, I go, guys, they just tripled the size of the college football playoff. Just win more games. I mean, my Lord. Jay, great point. His first recruiting test is to keep his current team on campus. That's what I would say to Alabama players. Before you go hit the transfer portal and you get all upset that Coach Saban's not there anymore, and before you start taking calls from agents, before you start getting contacted and DM'd by, Miss Sexy Alabama who is being used by some agent to get in touch with you, at least hear the man out. You're already in Tuscaloosa. Please, just hear the man out. Recruits will hit the transfer portal. They wanted to play for Saban, not DeBoer. Get ready for 10-3 season, Tide fans. Tiger 2D asked a question. It's very interesting. I'm curious to know how hard they came after Dabo. I don't know. Dale, 2020 teams can make the playoffs even if they only played half a schedule. True. Going on down through here. I was shocked that Lanning didn't take the job, Julie C. Gabe, Isaiah Bond is in the transfer portal. Huh. Shoot 'em. No one wanted. Y'all don't got to worry about that, folks. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut right now. Randy Payne, go Dogs from Tifton, Georgia, the new kings of college football. Might very well be that way. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining me. Once again, I'm just quoting what ESPN on their main page. If you go there right now, it says DeBoer agrees to be next Bama coach. That is at the very top of the screen with breaking news under it. So it looks like they have found his replacement. I was kind of shocked. Go look at his coaching history. The only thing that concerns me about this guy is that he has not coached in the Southeast. The farthest he's been east, I believe, is Indiana. And that was for a short period of time. And then he went back to the West Coast. So, and he was there, and I take that back. Illinois and East Michigan, excuse me. That was a short amount of time. The vast majority of his life has been spent in the South Dakota, then going back to the Pacific Coast. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does. But overall, it looks like the guy can coach football. So I wish him the best. It will be very interesting to see how he does. It's telling you, this could be a soap opera to see how the players who just signed just right before Christmas are finding out less than a month later, Saban's no longer there. Do they still want to play for the Crimson Tide? We will see. It will be interesting. Y'all take care. I'll catch you next time. If you like what I'm doing, I hope you'll subscribe. It's free and it's easy. Y'all take care of yourself as always. Go Tigers.